Hey Hipple, this is Rob Fleming here. It's 9:30 on Monday night. I have your work up here in the PowerPoint, and first off, I'm speaking very low because one of my kids is already starting to get to sleep. But appreciate the effort that you put in, and I'm going to try to take a look at everything you've done and try to give you some feedback. So I see you have two layouts here, and I'll come back to this image as we get down to it. This is from your assignment one. So I'm going to keep moving forward here. So let's talk about site a little bit. Let me just see if you have a site plan. So I'll try to talk about each of these as I can. So a couple things about this project. So this is basically, I understand, is your courtyard here, which is great. I mean, it's sort of like an atrium. I'm going to talk a little bit about that and how that could work in a different drawing. Now you've got a big flat roof here, and so when I get into the plans, I'm going to look at ways we can take more advantage of that. Actually, to get to net zero, you're probably going to need all of this to be solar. However, if this was green roof, you could use it for gardening or vegetables, and maybe there's a way to get out there, and I'll look at that when I get to the plans. Um, the problem with this zone here is that it's very narrow. So I'm wondering how well it's going to be able to be used for play. You actually have here, which is called a landscape buffer along here, which is going to be treed up and such. So that probably would not be a hardscape as you show it here. The pond could be a natural shaped pond where it gets its rainwater from the roof here, potentially. However, that also breaks up this space that you have here. I wonder, as I get into the plans, I'm going to see what we can do to the front of the building. I wonder if there's a way to make this site more functional. You're also very tight up against these streets, which is good on some level, but I'll get into that. But I do notice you have a lot of detail in the Revit model, so I know you put a lot of time into this, and I think it's fantastic. Now, green roof here is typically not so steeply sloped, so when you get into it more, you also have all of this for solar. So I'm thinking between that and this, you've got enough solar for net zero, and then you can actually have some green space up here, which we could make a little bit more architectural. Like the solar shading, I'm going to talk about the skylight a little bit more as we get to it. I like the bike parking, we'll get into that. And the wind turbines, I see what that is. Very interesting. Okay, we'll look at that. I'm glad to see the geothermal. I'm glad to see that. And I'm going to look at those clear stories a little bit as we get into it. So here is, I see what's happening here. So this is essentially parking, but you don't really have the parking maximized. So for example, cars could come in, they could go back out. You could have a row of parking like this. It's not ideal, but so the cars would come in, come back out and around, and then this is your bus drop off. So we'll get to take a look at that. I'm kind of wanting to get this space to be wider if possible, or not sure yet. Desirable views towards the river, good. Entrance to the school. Now when we talked about, so we have a entry at school where when they drop off from the bus, they're going to have to walk around here. Although it is safe, you've got a lot of traffic here. I'm going to look a little bit at that when we get to that, and then so let me get into the site plan and give you some more feedback on that from that view. But these views are very helpful. Okay, so let's take a look at what you got here. That your building is very deep. And one of the things I noticed between your group and the other group is you guys have a much bigger program. And the problem with the courtyard scheme, of course, is that your building does get very deep in this direction. So when I get to the floor plans, I'm going to look for ways to make it thinner. In any case, I'm wondering if in your particular scheme, the pond moves over to here so that you get a nice continuous big open play space for the kids, right? With a fence, maybe a fence here. And then maybe you have a pond here and you have some other like playground equipment along here that line up in this thinner space. So I think it could work. I'm also going to look at your entry. You may have a double entry. You may have an entry here and here. So when I get to your plans, I'll take a look at that. Uh, so your buses are coming in like that. That seems fine. You don't really have a car drop off. So one thing that students are doing is they're building a car drop off along here. Now that does not work for your scheme because you want to get the people over to that side. So one thing you can do is you could have, I guess maybe that's what you're thinking is the drop off is here and then they go back out. I'm going to look at your plans and see if we can solve that. I like the geothermal. I think that's appropriate. I would call it geo exchange. I'm liking the wind turbines, although you realize you won't get too much energy. Rainwater harvesting, I like that. So I'm glad to see that you're thinking about the systems and the design of your building. Now, let's see what we can do here. So already I can tell that we can make this building thinner, and I'm going to tell you how. Your open office space, this is your admin space, I believe, could be made thinner and longer, and I think a lot of this actually can be put down into a basement. So all of your mechanical and stuff, because you have a bigger program, I think that maybe you're going to have to think about having a basement. Now that has different meanings depending on egress and such, which I'll talk about. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You've got classrooms lined up and they look pretty good. I'm going to come back and offer some different options in the site in a minute. The lobby, see what I think you should do is have a double side. I think this is your lobby. Okay, and then this is your admin, which you can shrink down. And the admin has a big old desk right here. So kids can come in this way, right? Or they can come in this way, and that creates this space here that's sort of the open and public space. And then your corridor is really wide here, so I would actually bring that down by a couple feet and gain some space back again. This corridor looks about right. Now I think this is a little bit of deceiving. I don't think that's loading, it's mechanical, it's all of those things, and it doesn't necessarily pay to have them grouped when you can load right in through here. So you might be better off moving. Not sure how to handle that. I might handle that. Oh, that looks pretty good. I'm glad that you did that. That was clever. Remember, all doors open out. You need to have a vestibule here. And your stair, here's where I think you can get some drama. So rather than these doors here, I might actually have my stair like comes into this and my elevator. And so as I come up and down the stairs, I see that. Now, knowing a little bit about egress, you're going to have another fire stair down at this end in case of a fire, which I'll get into. Let me go to your second floor briefly and then come back to your first floor. Yeah, so you need an egress stair here. Sorry, it's so sloppy. Because people will die unless there's, and these oh, I see, you put your corridor on the northern side. Very, very clever. Let me go back. So what you've essentially done is you've shifted the circulation on the back side, which actually makes a lot of sense. So maybe your stair here does make sense. You've got your music room, your art room, and your science room and your library. Very good. However, this corridor has to end in a stair in order to get people out. So that's going to be a little bit of a waste of circulation, I would say. So maybe we ought to think about getting your stair more in this location. And a library, because it's a single large room, you can have a dead-end corridor in a library and come out to the stair here. So you may have to think about putting a stair right in here in order to make this work. I'm going to go back to your first floor, and I'm thinking, I think you have a doorway here, so I can't put a stair there. I could redo my bathroom. Well, there's some trickiness that we could do here. Let's see. So maybe the bathrooms, yeah, you can't do this. You can't end a corridor like that, so that's going to be a little bit of a problem. This is opening into the courtyard, which is interesting, but I'm not sure it's getting you as much as you would hope. I think in the end, I know why you're doing that, to get the direct southern light into the rooms, But if you think about an art room, likes to have a north wall. By the way, this is very wide. You can probably make that more narrow. The art room could move up this way. I think you could put all this stuff up on this wall. Right, that would help. And then what'll happen is it'll ruin your library. I see that. Oh, and then you have a stair somewhere over here. We're going to have to do some redesign here. But one thing I was thinking about doing is, I need the right drawing for it, is bringing your, let me just draw up here. So here's your, right now you have, this is your classroom. You have some sort of courtyard, and then you have a two-story building here. And right now you have the corridor back here on the second floor, and then you have some sort of roof there. I think that you would be better off doing some sort of really cool stepping, really neat daylighting kind of thing here, having the corridor here so we can see out to the site through these really nice little stepping roof that you're going to have, and then this is your green roof slash PV. And then I would move your rooms up against the north side here, and then here's your other rooms. Now given that, that means that upstairs you're going to have, this is going to be your corridor, is going to be here coming down this way, and it does now work to have, whoopsie, it does work to have a staircase here now, maybe with the corridor here. I hope I'm not confusing you too much. And these are kind of interesting. So that's that scheme, and I'd be happy to get on the one-on-one with you at a time that's convenient for you to think about reworking it. But I wouldn't rework it for right now. I would wait till you pick the scheme that you want and then rework it from there. So I hope that this little bit of feedback helped. I'm sorry that I couldn't solve the staircase here. With enough time I could do that, and I will take another look at that. Otherwise, I think you got a lot of good work here. I also noticed that you have oh, I see. So you have bathrooms here and changing rooms there. Interesting. Here you have bathrooms here when really your bathroom should be here. So maybe your library is just something simple back here like this, and this corridor goes all the way down to the bathrooms and a stair here at the end, and that then gets all of your egress problems solved, and that gets you another access out to the roof, because I think you could have some gardening going on out here on the roof. I'm still liking these. I don't know if they might be too close together, but I like the symbolism of them. Okay, thank you.